Yeah, so if you, did you write that? Or-
I got it. I got it. Yep, yep.
Are you on the Wi-Fi? Oh. No. Yeah. It's the password, you know what it is, or is it the password? The password for the point guest. Is it the point guest?
330 capital S E T T.
Wait a minute, start over. 30.
30, and I'm guessing.
I'm allowed to talk.
Capital
S.
S E T T.
So certain things, yeah, we need, there's three of us, so.
Yeah.
So that's when you get.
30
Oh, wait.
September with a capital S 2019.
That's a good question to ask though. It's so hard. I always have like, like. Just comes out of my mouth. Oops. Wait. I had a new business, a new agenda item too, and one of the twins came running at me and it was like, there it went. Like, I just couldn't bring it back, couldn't remember what it was. I just
Something put at 3 a.m.
I know.
It says can't connect.
Grand exclamation mark at the end. 3 September
see,
2019 with an exclamation.
should have Julie, probably Keisha online. See, September. Check with Julie.
2019 with an exclamation.
Keisha's on her way.
Who is?
Oh, good. Keisha, issue with the dog. Always dog. Hi, Lauren.
Hi.
Hi. Hey. You on island? Where are you at? Julie, it's just about to zoom. Perfect. I should sit over
Yeah,
there on
I
that
guess
side. I should all sit over on that side.
Looks like I'm updated.
I'm gonna start the recording.
Writing in this.
Usually save mine in a folder. I got all my notes on it and I can. It's like. Yeah, then you can see it. Yeah, I think it might be just us in person tonight, so. Keisha's on. Okay, yeah, let's get that back, Keisha. We'll wait for the phone. Like to honor starting on time. Five o'clock. Max, are you ready over there? Do we have to read? On already? Is it already going?
Yeah.
Cool.
Bye.
Great. I'll call this Madeline Island Childcare Task Force meeting Monday, April 13th. To order at 5:01 p.m. Do roll call. Sam Dobson, Cora Baxter,
Debbie Knopf.
Lauren Shuby.
and looks like we just got Julie Stryker on. You'll unmute yourself, Julie.
I will. Hang on,
Okay.
just getting in here.
And Keisha should be here shortly.
For some reason. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know why my video is not working, but
There is no public in attendance, but is there any public comment? With none, we'll move to approve the March 2nd, 2026 meeting minutes.
I move to accept the minutes of March 2nd.
Well, second with one change. On 3A, I said that there were 9 children, and when I did the math, there were 13. So just so that reflects the correct number. That's all. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 4, update on federal, state, and nonprofit grants available. We'll give an update on what went on with the Boreal Waters letter of intent. So we have Richard here and Lauren who worked on it. So I'll give you the floor.
Okay, well, thank you, and thanks to Lauren.
Hi, Rich. Thanks to you so much.
And Sam. We were able to submit an application, a letter of interest, on March 8th. Unfortunately, we did hear back on March 30th, that we weren't being considered, as part of that application. So I have talked to, Ursula Harris, who we got the email from on March 30th. And she's reaching out to Amber, who's going to give us some feedback. Amber has my phone number and my email address. If I haven't heard anything in another week or two, I'll reach out to her. So, feedback on why we weren't selected is very important.
Yep.
To figure out, was it, did we not emphasize something that we should have, or did we not include something? So that's very important to me. The good news is that there is another letter of intent that's due between May 4th and June 1st.
Okay.
June 1st is the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to wait till the deadline to figure that out, but there's an opportunity grant, resilient grant, belonging grant. So I want to take a look at and get the feedback from Amber, and then approach the group again on with this feedback, where do we think we're best positioned to bid. Each of them is 25 to 50,000, and some of them obviously I don't think really apply, but so it's the same range, 25 to 50,000. So the goal would be to submit something near the end of May, based on the feedback, so this package will be better.
Okay. Thank you so much. Lauren, do you have anything to add?
Just that I have a little more information. This will come up other places too. But we were talking about potentially putting some of this programming in the Bell Street, or exploring that as an option. And I shared with you, Sam, but I can share with everybody else that I was able to talk with Dave about that space. And his ultimate goal is for a 6-month lease. If we were to be doing like a test pilot situation, and he would like $5,000 a month. So essentially that's $30,000 for a 6-month lease. He did say he was motivated, meaning that I think that there is room for discussion as far as that number is concerned. I have some additional thoughts. This does not pertain to the grant, so I don't know if we want to insert this other places, but as far as as we're developing this next round of LOI, at least we're starting to get some numbers, I guess, to kind of put on buildings that already exist.
All right. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
I just have a question. If you can repeat what that grant, does it have to do with creating resilience? Is that what you said? And belonging?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Okay.
I was just gonna say it's called it's like this overarching like larger grant that they launched a couple years ago called the Opportunity Grant, and it has these different categories. So Rich, you can read them if you want, but they each of the I think there's what 3 or 4 categories.
Yeah, the two that I was looking at was resilience and belonging.
And I think that those are the ones that best fit. I mean, I think everybody on the task force should definitely go to the Boreal Waters website and look at that grant because the definitions of each of those categories, it's not, I've been looking for a way to describe them, but it's pretty, like conceptual. It's not very logical. Like it's not bullet point of like what they're looking for those. So they have general themes to each one of them. And like Rich said, we kind of picked out the 2 that we thought this best fit into.
Okay, I was just commenting because I have some background from my work with the Head Start programs in developing resilience within a community for children to prevent child
Right.
trauma, right? So that I was just thinking if, I'll look at it too, but if there's anything I can help with in terms of language or concept, I can see how we would fit into that really well, but okay, that's all. Thank you.
Record Zero, Keisha is here at 5:10. All right, we'll talk more about this a little further down the line. So right now, let's talk about some of the tasks we have ahead of us. 5A, develop parent needs survey. We had talked about this last time we met, to get a read on what parents and families are looking for specifically. And now that I know Keisha from another meeting this last week, has some survey skills, I think it would be a really easy, quick way for us to gather some of that current data, especially looking at the numbers. We have 13, and was everyone able to look at the Google Doc?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so you saw the chart of all the kids. And when you see them all there, it's really a visual for how many kids we have. So figuring out kind of what do we need right now, immediately, and then what do we need kind of more goal long-term. So we don't necessarily need to hash out the survey right here, right now, but if we want to delegate some folks who can spend some time, maybe drafting some questions that we can pose to the group and kind of work on that over the next month, hoping to get it done. I mean, ideally, it'd be nice to get it out to the parents, like as soon as we can finish it. We don't necessarily need to wait for the next meeting.
And there must be things online as well that could help.
Yeah, we spoke about it in our affordable housing meeting just last week, and there is a number of online programs that work pretty efficiently. And this doesn't need to be an extensive survey. It can seriously be 10 questions and more of an open answer type form. So I think that'll give us maybe parameters for what we're like program wise, seeing where most bang for our buck, that kind of stuff. And maybe parents don't need help certain times or right that we haven't thought of.
And understanding, excuse me, that those things will change.
Yeah. Yep.
Quarter to quarter or 6 months to 6 months based on employment.
Summer, winter, exactly. And even just that first year of life to number 2 year of life, you know, a lot of parents step back. So what is that like stepping back and going back in look like? So I think trying to capture that information, because everybody's just going to look different. So it would be really interesting to get this like broad.
Yeah.
And it could help us in grant, you know, maybe there's a niche that we haven't thought of. So is there anybody who's willing to kind of lead that? Keisha?
I'm happy to. And then a question for the group. Hi, Lauren, would be,
Hi.
hi. And I can put this into more of a form. I did add some contributions, which just more looks like, could we consider a model that looks like harnessing? And then in our survey, like parents' comfortability with basically our 10 to 14-year-olds basically getting trained within like CPR, first aid training, maybe babysitter safety certifications in between time. Even if it's a parent aid, parents home.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a model that I did.
So like babysitter hours, right? Like kind of those non-traditional.
That's how I started.
Yeah.
Me too. So there's kind of like, and you'll have this now from me, which is like a couple of different phases, but it's like different from training into like paid childcare aid roles, where it's like, it's less than you would pay someone else.
Yeah.
And then scholarship and training support, if it's like someone that even eventually gets into being like, maybe I'd go into early childhood education.
Yeah.
And then there's a separate suggestion from me that looks like the suggestion from Lauren and yourself. I think everyone is in agreement of like shared benefits with talking about adding in a care structure for elders.
Mhm.
So within the survey, if it's a parameter of 10 questions, I'll think about it, but we should all look at it before anything. But it's kind of like, would you be comfortable having an in-home support system versus something else?
I think that leads
And it could lead that gap.
really good into the next question, because I, in regards to like program structure, I think that's what that survey is really gonna hone in on, is what's most important right now and then kind of long-term. Because for example, I have had a number of elders in our community reach out to me, and some aware of the childcare task force and some completely not, asking if there is a like pipeline for them to come in and help with these young families. Because they're from everything from just simply coming in to washing the dishes to taking baby for a walk, or like just really low key stuff to like actual care stuff. So I know we're really focused on like getting a structure and a program, but I do think there's like a lot of these resources right now that we can set up and just create that like connection to people in numbers. So kind of like within the survey is like getting this database of, 14 to 15-year-olds who may be interested in maybe this, or that list of elders that they can phone tree, or so I think for I don't know, like right now, like we can talk about it now, but for next meeting, definitely like kind of putting like deeper organizations, like what some of these like right now things could be.
Yep. I can volunteer myself, and once you have an opportunity, all of you to look over contributions, it's really aligned within that. And so it's feedback from then our families.
And it can be like as simple as just creating like a contact form that we, email out or
For volunteer,
right, for volunteers. So, maybe right now it's one of our, I further down the list, it's creating an order of priorities. Maybe that kind of as a priority gets bumped up a little sooner, because it's something we can do right now.
That tree also includes like what I called like a companion care. So it's like you may just need support like post-surgery, whether you're also in an in-between.
Yeah.
So it can kind of fill different gaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll take, without deep diving it, I'm happy to take the first draft at it and then send it for review.
I'm happy to help you do that.
Great. And make sure that it's like a no cost Google forum and really like easy to work within. Cool.
Is there anything else on, it could be a really lengthy conversation of determining the best types of program structure that we need right now. But I know maybe Lauren, this would be a good place for your update, because it kind of leads into locations and kind of physically what something could look like.
Yeah, I've just had a lot of brainstorming about and without getting like too off track, but brainstorming a lot, like looking at the Washington Island stuff, Sam, that you sent, and how they kind of like arrived at their format. And I just kind of keep circling back that like our current summer rec program is essentially and was birthed out of need for childcare. And so I keep like circling around that wherever we decide to go or however like the childcare aspect gets formatted, I think that there is definite room. I don't know if you want to call it a marrying or a separating or morphing, but the rec program, there's opportunity, I guess what I'm trying to say, for the rec program to actually be like a supplemental rec program for all ages and in conjunction with a childcare program, if that makes sense. Like I feel like we have so many resources that go into this, into the summer rec program that essentially is childcare. And so I'm trying to find a way and through discussion of like how do we, and we brought this up last time, like, oh well, we'll test pilot a 0 to 4 group and kind of look at it as an expansion of this program that is not a licensed program. It is, a recreation program, so we don't have any licensure that goes into it other than like what we require for recreation, like CPR and lifeguard and whatnot. So I guess where I'm going with this is I feel like as we develop the needs of people, maybe there's some things that sort of come out of what we consider summer rec, and then summer rec can take different paths to sort of flourish as an actual recreation program and not a childcare program, if that makes sense. Um, And so with that, obviously, like I'm in a situation with summer rec right now that we don't have a home for this summer. So I'm exploring a couple different options. I did, as mentioned earlier, I spoke with Dave Marchetti about the Bell Street, and it would be a possibility to, get into that space for a 6 month chunk of time or even beyond. But I feel really overwhelmed at a 20 to $30,000 price tag, considering that there was no like planning that happened ahead of time to kind of like shore up funds for that. Um, he did say something that was kind of interesting and got me thinking that if it were to be ours for those 6 months, we essentially have control over it, so we could allow other community partners to run programming in there. Which to me feels like a test pilot of a community center, coupled with all of these like broad ideas, but felt slightly overwhelming on considering the timeline that we're under, but maybe not. I was refreshed to know that the space can be fully open and available where we wouldn't have to like get out for any scheduled events that they have because they don't have anything under contract for the summer.
Is the rec center where the school kids are now, is that available for the summer program or it's just not sufficient?
Well, so it is, but all of the school setup would have to be removed and stored for the summertime and then put back in again in the fall. So, that is
Just some
possible.
logistics.
Yeah.
Just-
Yeah,
Yep.
just trying to avoid
Yeah.
if we can.
Sure. Sorry, you guys. I'm sorry, my camera's not working. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
The rec center is so chaotic in the summer. It
Mhm.
just doesn't seem like a viable.
I have a
choice.
couple worries about that. And like the school situation, Kate is like really willing to like make that work if that's our last sort of resort. But I have a couple concerns. One being once the school kids are done June 12th, they will open those bathrooms back up to the public.
Yeah.
And so one of the main things that we actually need for the rec program is like restrooms for changing and which is kind of a big part of the day when we're talking about beach and outdoor programming. So I don't feel super comfortable having 20 kids that will be sharing public restrooms with people. And then also just that part of town is like pretty chaotic and like right on the road.
Yeah.
So I think we can make it work. I'm not opposed to that, like from my perspective for library programming, but it's not my first choice. And um I've talked with Nate. The other option is that Pastor Nathan has explored the potential idea of using the basement of St. John's. But the concern with that is that the bazaar happens,
Yeah.
Yeah.
for and is kind of occupies that entire space from the end of July. So it really only gives us like 5 weeks in there before we'd kind of have to clear out.
Lauren, have you thought about the Mary Lang Center? I don't know what's going on with the music camp right now.
So I did check in with
Okay.
uh her
Is it
last name is
Jonathan?
Saint. I can't think of her first name right
Oh,
now.
okay.
But she's in
Allison.
charge. Yeah, Alyssa.
Yeah.
Yep. She's in charge of the programming and they are doing a full camp. So they
They
will
are.
have, yeah.
Okay.
So they will be utilizing
Yeah,
it.
Keisha has a question real
Hey,
quick.
Fran, this is a direct question for you.
Yeah.
I appreciate the well-rounded like resources of looking into and all the pros and cons.
Mhm.
One thing to me is it seems like a neat opportunity if we can dedicate ourselves to looking at a model that could build us into Hill Street. Looking at a budget, are you able to provide more of like a dialed in amount that rec brings in that could be allocated towards that 20 to 30K? So we look at what would need to be met. Because then if we look, and if I can finish my thought, there's like kitchen space, there's a potential to build out, like, my brain's gonna go a couple ways, but like community rec with like physical fitness elements to it. So if we needed to build a structure and model, what's the deficit that we would try to at least break even on if we're not gonna make profit?
Mhm.
Are you able to share any sort of number?
Yeah,
Of what-
absolutely. I mean, roughly the rec program, like with daily fees, if everybody pays on time, which has been a problem
Yeah.
the last couple years, but about 12,000 in revenue. Um, if and that's what comes in, but then we also pay out roughly depending who we're subcontracting for programming. Now, the last couple summers, were really blessed to have a lot of people who were volunteering, their programming time. So we did not spend a lot of money on programming. And I feel confident that with that model that the kids were still having, like a fulfilling program without having to pay large sums out for subcontracting. And I would be actually okay with this summer kind of like following that same format, mainly because this week I start training our full-time rec director. And so he's jumping in sort of right in the middle of all of this where he's going to be learning, but also I'm sure he's got lots of ideas too to contribute on how he can like balance out that space, like that potential space. And so I think that if we could get Dave to a more like rounded 3,000 or 2,500 even a month, like he I could hear in his voice, he just doesn't want to manage it. He doesn't want to have to deal with contracts and figuring out events to pay for that space. So my feeling from him is that if there was a steady way for him to just hand over a key and not have to think about it for the summer, that is his preference.
If I can speak up real quick, so obviously this is an open space, anyone can view it. Yeah, that sounds great. Liability insurance is one thing that would have to be covered. So if we start talking business structure of meeting whatever his ask is and a deficit, like, I mean, that's just a point of conversation. I
Well, and if
acknowledge,
the library is holding that lease, then
Yeah.
we are covered under the town's insurance.
nice, okay, and I'm familiar with those structures, so that's a talking point.
I think that we can, I'm a little disgruntled in Dave, I'll be honest. I don't quite understand his reasoning for that much rent for a community project.
Mhm.
So I like
Well,
the.
and Julie, I will
yeah.
say it did seem like it was an initial conversation. Like I
Okay,
was
good.
real clear. Yep,
Good.
because I came to the table like essentially like what's your top of the mountain, you
Yeah,
know?
good.
I have a question? I know this is all kind of preliminary stuff, but in regards to making rent and working with potential partners and having this space open to community members, have you talked with like the LaPointe Center or
No.
like, okay, because
And
my
that was going to be my next point is like when he said something interesting that sparked in my mind that we could actually bring in other people and be essentially responsible for I don't know if you would call it subleasing, but you know,
yeah.
sharing the space, co-paying, co-sharing the space, and where they could pay a portion of that, you know, if you got it organized well enough.
I can speak on behalf of that. I'm almost glad you didn't reach out yet because it's like, is it an avenue that we wish to go?
Mm-hmm.
My own personal opinion is I think it's interesting, and if we could give ourselves 2 weeks to
Mhm.
come up with like some serious
Mm-hmm.
direction and strategy,
Well,
more
and
structure.
Julie, I have this, I mean, I immediately think of theater and
Yeah, I know. I mean,
yeah.
we've done so much in there. I'm a little shocked at the sticker price, but I think if you believe that we can kind of talk it down, and I like the idea. I think honestly, the LaPointe Center, Lauren, as you know, and many of you know that we've been working on the concept of a community center for, well, in my case, decades.
Yeah.
And that space could be really beneficial, I think, to the LaPointe Center. Perhaps there's I don't know, other organizations that would be interested.
I think too, like if these opportunities present themselves, like for example, Positivity Theater performs there. That's a great avenue for fundraising to kind of promote what we're doing with a little
Yep.
background and visual. So I know Lauren, you were kind of talking to me too, like, well, maybe we can fundraise, and I think there's definitely some opportunities that are there that we could.
I mean, and also,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
honestly, you guys, we still have, you know, 8,000, well, I mean, not just to put like exact numbers on it, but we do have designated funds that I think, I'm not talking about the whole portion, but I do think since the library's, one of the board's main initiatives was to explore a community center space, that they would be willing, you know, to fund a portion of rent, like from our designated funds, to pilot a program to see how it could work as almost like an investment into the space.
That's great.
Comment on that portion too. If we bring it in as like a strategy point with building relationships, and that's kind of what I focused like the last month for what was kind of designated, like thinking about Keisha outreach and fundraising possibilities with potential organization, nonprofits, and strategic planning. It would be like on behalf of LPC as a board member, I have insight to it, and I think that there could be a conversation sooner rather than later. Julie obviously is a major contributor towards that, and it's basically a newer board focusing in on what are the goals. And it's coming back to the fact that we are a re-granting center that ought to be supporting. So automatically, I mean, I'm invested in just and interested in trying to create that, which also creates space where like I can see avenues of accessibility for LPC to host.
Mhm.
And then when I wear my other hat, which is GLLI as managing director, I do have a funding meeting coming up in the next couple of weeks where it's building out strategy, and she, on behalf of, is invested in Island in certain ways. So if the strategy also looks like, as I wear that hat, GLI is looking for sometimes an internal workshop space where accessibility to the land, or it doesn't make sense to be on the land for something.
Mhm.
So on behalf of that, then I can say, right now, I have a budget of 0. I have an ability to come in and say, our team can, but then that gives me
Mhm.
basically a narrative to say there's something that you could be invested, or
Mhm.
multiple strategies. I think it's fantastic, and it's a long game. And if we're successful in it, even if it's clunky or it's hard at first, it's working towards also a non-vacant building. So
Yeah.
I will do what I can to support. And on the note, my last thing is I'm happy to help if appropriate to negotiate.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
would like to be a part of that conversation as appropriate. So I think it's stellar.
I also think there's some other organizations that would be interested. I was thinking, the Island Association has
Yep.
funds.
Yep.
And I know that they would be supportive. I don't know if they have any kind of monies available or whatnot, but I think
I
it's
mean,
another
honestly, you
avenue.
guys, like, just to put it in perspective, if we could get Dave down to $20,000 and we have, 4 organizations willing to donate $5,000 to run a test program,
Yeah.
I mean, that's nominal for
Yes.
individual groups. So I I do think it's feasible. My um Yeah, I don't think if we can negotiate and get it to a space and get some nonprofits, some players to buy in, I think it could work.
I'll say too, it makes me feel, when we're talking about structure and what a program would look like, kind of being incubated within, is nice because we have the staff support. I'm immediately like, what would a program like this look like? How would we find people to supplement? And, the bench is short. But having a good volunteer base and having that rec center structure, I think sets us up for a stronger win. So I just wanted to point that out.
I would like to bring up a point within that is if the narrative ought to be rooted in that it is a community space, then it would behoove us to think from the get-go that beyond rec or childcare, that somehow the model from the beginning is about accessibility for our community.
I agree.
I agree.
Because if it doesn't, then it misses the benchmark and it kind of like has this validity to it that isn't there. So I don't know what that looks like, but there's like major themes within it, which is like our food accessibility, whether that kitchen space,
And it would be available. I talked to Dave about all of those aspects. I mean, obviously, I think coming in stronger as a collaborative, I mean, that was the approach that Rich and I took in the LOI for the grant. And I think that's the way that we're going to achieve this is by having buy-in from all the groups that need the space. And fortunately, this group's task is to figure out like the childcare part of it. And the beauty of that building is that there are separate spaces. And so
Yes.
it can be there can be programming going on at the same time and still have it be separated.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can I speak up to one more point?
Yeah.
Thank you. We have such a energy about us as a community that gets things moving, and then some of the patterning that happens is like a quick close, and maybe it's not always like the objection is there. So I just want to like root us in being determined, and the fact that we are being put in a position that a property holder wants to say, I really don't want to do much but hand you keys.
Yeah.
It's kind of exciting, and it's also really daunting. So I hear you on that. And it sounds like, yes, thank you for coming back to like our responsibility as a group that is signed to say like, we're here to be on behalf of, also as us taking on like then the responsibility. And like, I like in my life that some of those risks have really like proven to be challenges that like have created wellness. And I think that really the only way with capacity of like each position community of holders shares is like, the reality is like beyond the dollar amount, if we talk about a business structure or model, if we take business out, but a model that brings in like vibrancy is like, it sounds good until it's implemented. And that's not to weigh us down to say it can't happen. It's just the reality is like, I'm actually really for it. And then to just say like, then my brain goes, how can we, you know?
Yeah.
Because say like, on the end of GLLI, like I don't feel confident at this point that I could say I've got $5,000 in the bank that I could put.
Yeah.
That's like gut wrenching because I have the programming and the people and I'm willing to advocate and it's timely and I will ask and I will add it. But if we don't, you know, it's deficit yet. And then it's like these other avenues which says we're responsible and we can rent out the kitchen too. I mean, it's beautiful and so.
When we're talking about this space, the one thing that immediately comes to my mind, because I have history with managing that space, is who is going to manage all of the entities. Like, I do agree that the way for this to work is to have it be collaborative, but there essentially will have to be a facility manager, you know, and I know I may be skipping ahead, but that's kind of something that we have to like think about because coordinating that many groups can get
That's a full-time job.
sticky.
I think this is a good place to maybe
Yeah.
table this and then like
Yeah.
really put in some thought the next few weeks. And this can be something, I was gonna suggest we meet sooner than a month. So maybe this is something that we try to really hash out. Lauren, it sounds like you're kind of the best person to organize this and then let us know kind of how we can help you.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing just taking away from here is like if we feel like we want to obviously pursue that space, then we need to reach out to the different entities and float the idea. So I have a library board meeting on Tuesday that I plan to put this on the agenda so we can specifically talk about what the library board contribution could be. Keisha, do you maybe want to see how you can have a conversation with LPC about potential buy-in?
As well as at our next meeting for GLI, although and yes, on behalf of both. And I had a thought that just totally slipped my mind.
And I'm just wondering if anybody else can think of any other, like anybody have ties with Island Association or,
I can reach out.
okay.
It's an easy one. Or Julie, if you'd like to, but
No, go ahead. I'm out of town till the
I do
first
their
part of May.
website, so I'm kind
But-
of like tuned into them.
Oh, that's good. But Keisha, I was gonna say, as far as LPC, just that I'm on board as positivity.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean that I'm going to move my program into that space, but it does mean that I could be doing more
Yeah.
if we
Nice.
had that space.
Great. But
Think of it that
Yeah.
way.
yeah, thank you.
And there's, we've been doing theater on the island for years, and we've utilized that space on and off over the years. And that could be a whole nother kind of avenue to look into for anybody that's interested in, having a small community theater type situation, which we've done on and off. I'm not sure what that looks like, but that concept to have the space available.
Julie,
is
do you have any
amazing.
ties with like any mainland groups that would potentially
Yes.
have, interest in performing there?
That's a good idea. Yeah, I do. I will talk to a couple people about that, see if they'd be interested. I don't know if the money thing is a concept, but they might have fundraising abilities for their groups.
But maybe it's just a portion of ticket sales too. I'm
Yes.
looking at it as like maybe they're
Okay.
not a buy-in, but maybe that's a way to fulfill like some collaboration.
Okay,
I
I can
second
talk to
that.
people. I could do that.
Here's my ask within it. Could we structure it where we just are documenting like elements that we're reaching up to? So it's okay for like duplication, but it's neat to see where we're outreaching because it goes into then like a hybrid model for fundraising, which is if we are at a deficit of say $3,000, but we know that we don't have to have the fourth payment until the end of the month or the end of our contract, then on behalf of one of many decision makers, I would say I would be willing to risk,
Yeah.
it's a risk analysis to say, hi, let's talk about a business sponsorship program or an annual giving campaign or a seasonal fundraising events. And like, this is bulleted in here and talk about how to meet it instead of trying to fit ourselves into a small box where it obviously isn't like ideal, like these small pockets, because that need for growth is going to amplify here, especially with the outreaching beyond just buy-in of someone being like, great, we can cover a month of, and we will. The idea that we're bringing in like a structure which says like whether it's tourism related or it's wellness for our community members, like I like that. It's a portion of ticket sales. It's
So I'm hearing more about, it sounds like this could be a year, not a 6-month thing, but a year round. You know, I mean,
It could potentially, but I think the initial like discussion and, you know, an offer was kind of a 6-month May 1st to October 31st situation.
okay, but
And
if
I
our
think that we
childcare
could
need
use,
was,
I think we could like use that time to figure out how to extend it.
So
But-
this was, my next question then was, we've discussed this at length and kind of we're going this direction right now. I just want to give opportunity to
yeah.
other ideas that people may have or other structures that maybe are worth keeping in mind or, you know, like, are there other ideas that,
Yeah, for as far as like the early childhood, what we're kind of talking about, the 0 to 4s, I do think that we should consider what like in even for short term, say if the Bell Street doesn't work out, but like St. John's
So I was
situation.
wondering, when the town bought Ferry Line, they had a property on Middle Road and I don't think it's been occupied for a while,
Right.
but,
it's a tear down situation.
but did we buy it?
It is
Yeah.
included in the purchase,
So the town owns it. So
Yeah.
that could be another
Yep.
place to look at for like a long-term.
is land wide, yeah,
Right.
land-wide,
Yep.
yeah.
yeah.
We could put a building there.
Right,
Yeah.
yep.
Yep.
And then you wouldn't be confined to the space that's already there.
Yeah, so that's my question too, is do we also want to be mindful of grant opportunities for things like modular structures, and potential land plots on the island? Because I've also been looking at land that the town of La Pointe owns, and my question was the property around the tennis courts. I checked in on that, and that has
That's
very
right.
specific use, so that one was out. But I was encouraged to keep looking. So I guess I just want to put it to the table that we're still keeping those options
Set on one.
available, and we're still looking for grants and,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, because I think it's a capacity building with like resources and energy, and then saying like
Yeah.
in a negotiation way too, like
Yeah.
talking about like rental versus sale.
Yeah.
How long has that land been?
Well,
No,
and
it's
that's the like, I see like what we're working on with the Bell Street as a immediate need.
Exactly.
We're playing a numbers game right now where we have a lot of kids who are and families that are in need, and it tapers off as we go. So we have this opportunity to
Yes,
do
people get
something
picked.
now, but also think about the long-term future and kind of building in a more resilient, sustainable,
Well, I think
You know.
the Bell Street sold originally because it's so hard to maintain in the winter.
Yes.
yeah,
It's such a huge building and it's
Yeah.
all concrete and stone. It's so hard to heat.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Could we have a folder of accessible spaces that are like others know of land? Like,
Yeah.
something that gets.
I think that'd be a good,
Yeah.
like Julie had a number of of locations too, so let's create, let's have it
Put a
to do
header on the
be,
document.
yeah, just create a list of, structures that exist currently, and then also maybe town properties that could be, and then we can rank them.
Cool.
And then also we can keep in mind, those grants that are up in the fall. So this is kind of our first immediate need, because this goes into our next, order is 5D, which is create a list of priorities and kind of figure out what goes first. So, like, for example, one of these grants that we're looking at could utilize, paying for the cost of licensure. So if that's something we have the ability to do we do it, even though we may not necessarily have like a person in mind? So I want to include those priorities still in the list, and just maybe we can figure out kind of how to go.
I
When
want to
I-
bring up something to consider as we're kind of putting all of this together. I went to the first strategic planning listening session for the school district last week in Red Cliff. And it is a gigantic topic for the school to consider either hosting or starting a 4K program, if not an early childhood program.
Yeah, real quick, just to make sure, does everybody know that Bayfield is what they're dealing with right now with their 4K program? Just so we're all on the same page.
That the Head Start is pulled out.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. So, okay, cool. Thank you.
And so like in that first initial meeting, one of the top, I mean, it's seemingly one of the largest topics that was brought up was the implementation of that it's time for the school district, much like the Washburn school district, to implement an early childhood program. So I don't think that we want to sit and wait for the school district to implement that, but it is being talked about. And so I think it will help inform like a lot of the work that we're doing, because if that is the case, then there could be potential for a lot of the like early childhood things to be done in conjunction and funded by the school district.
So I want to bring that up then that's incredible insight, because as a list of priorities, it's the long game or slow love, as I prefer to say, of relationship building. Because with the historic detachment between island and then mainland school, this is an opportunity to weave it together. And I imagine you're in agreement in that.
I fully agree. Yeah. I mean, all these avenues for the type of relationship that we've had with the school district, it is what it is, but there is some exciting discussions going on because, you know, this is the opportunity, like when they're strategic planning. So I just wanted to say when they come to the island on the 29th for strategic planning, I want to encourage everybody here to go and voice your opinion about your needs, not only for the school district, but like what our community needs are and how the school can help.
And a childcare program that is associated or owned, directed by by a school district does not need to be licensed by the state.
Yep.
So that removes that, because otherwise, it's pretty hard to create a program for children from 0 to 4, more than 4 children at a time without being licensed anywhere, and that's in place for protection, right? And it's in place for children to have safety with the people who are working with them and the space and all of those things. But those things are assumed to be a given when it's run by a school district. But as you're saying, we can't really just wait.
Yeah, I
It'd be
wouldn't
nice if it
suggest,
was
but I
happening.
think, yeah, like as we're moving forward and as their planning they should have like a finalized strategic plan going into the school year.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we're doing all of our work at the same time. And I can't help but think like I mean, the landscape of that is that Red Cliff has an ECC, but it's been like, as of recent, it was a fantastic program that I've heard many people speak good things about, But until recently, I guess it's been like unreliable, where like you'll get a call at 7 a.m. that they're closed for the day because they don't have staff. And then obviously with the one closing in Bayfield, that's detrimental to the two communities to
Yeah.
not, and so I think of us where we've been dealing with that independently for many years. Like Debbie, when we started Little Learners, we were really trying to get the school district to,
Yeah.
allow essentially a remote 4K program. So,
Yeah.
anyway, I think having, being voicing that it is important on all avenues, and that includes through the school district, that, our school district has a lot of money and it could be allocated towards like these needs. We just have to we have to make sure our voices are heard.
If we go through the school district, could we try, because I know there's space in the school's basement on the island.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it would pass licensing.
They're not,
It's when I was, oh, okay.
they're not remodeling the basement.
It might,
Yeah.
it would be nice if they would.
Well, I went to school down there.
I know, I know,
Yeah,
I
in
know.
recent years,
I know.
that they shut it down.
Quick note for coming back to the point of 5D, which is prioritization.
Mhm.
One thing that would help me with relationship building and then communication would be, I didn't do a great job of note taking while listening, and that's kind of knowing my own structure style. But could we collaborate on talking points that looks like things that like are foundational to us? So there's insight that you provided. It's talking points learned that you talked about, and just basically bullet point kind of like the pros and cons of all of these areas. And so it's like it's refined in, because if the game of telephone teaches us anything, it's like the narrator that can change it. And so if we're kind of dividing and conquering within like relationships we have access to, like it feels like the relationship to the school board, which we're now just talking about, is much bigger than. And like ideally there would be a handful of individuals that are like really engaged, because we're going to catch different pieces of like connection points. And that is a deeper investment than it is to like the points that are for the arts or GLO.
Because it feels like we've got this basket here, and all of these are flowing, into the basket. And I don't know that I feel like we're really have landed specific, but to go and talk to people, it's like having all of this in our head at the same
Yeah,
time.
maybe that's just, and I'll speak up on behalf of myself, maybe it would help me to be able to communicate on behalf of something so big and beautiful, to make sure that I am doing you justice as a whole group.
Mhm.
And then it's like these pieces of information it's more than just someone feeling comfortable within proximity, where like I don't walk into the space and I'm cold. Like, oh, that was warm and I felt okay, her body language. But how about the real like negotiation points, or the real points of like why it would build relationship too? So it like helps us go deeper. I would like that. That would help me. And
Like adding another header to the document and having it kind of just written down.
yeah, it's just when we're prioritizing, I mean, there's just these pieces of like, yeah.
I would say let's just really use that document for ideas.
Mhm.
Like, we're really at an ideas phase right now, and I think that's why it feels like we're throwing a lot into the basket.
Yeah.
I think if we give ourselves a few more weeks of really thinking about these really big ideas and start putting them concretely onto paper.
Yeah.
And sharing that, we're gonna start to see that they are starting to organize. And that document can be, it can be folders, it can be just like a place where you are just writing your thought in that box, like, because I'm not sure how else we can capture all the knowledge other than just like stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
So,
I added a tab that just said Keisha's contributions.
Yeah, I did one too.
perfect.
Yours didn't show though. So maybe we need to.
I just named it, so I didn't name it Cora.
It's just in the document.
Yeah, it's like, it's the parental needs.
But that's great. And it kind of,
It's right there. Perfect.
especially too,
Okay.
Debbie, you can really use that space to talk about maybe
Yeah, if you wanna
more
add
of the,
things.
like,
Yeah.
Add.
Like,
I didn't know where to start adding.
yeah, just make your own tab. Like, really.
Or you can just add to me, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what Cora did is she just wrote something on a separate piece of paper and then copy and pasted it in. But you could even make it a document and just like
And I can help
put it in there.
Okay.
There's a lot of ways.
Okay.
But anyway, so let's keep using that. And then I think we have quite a bit. So is there any old business that we talked about last meeting that didn't make it onto this? I tried to catch everything. Because if not, then we'll move on to new agenda items. And what we want, we can do this now or we can do this over the course. I was gonna suggest that we meet in 2 weeks rather than 4. I feel like a lot of the stuff we have is kind of immediate. So
Yeah,
that's
I told Dave is coming to the island on May 1st. So I told him I'd have a conversation with him at the end of next week or the beginning of the following.
Okay.
So that's
That would be
time-
cool if we could meet the 27th.
I can.
Well, I take that back because I will be traveling. So, but I can make myself available.
Will you be on?
But is
plane?
there, I don't know. I don't know where I'll be. But if there's any from like now, basically over the next 2 weeks, is there a time that works? I mean, it could be like the 24th, you know, but I'm gone that whole week. So
You're gone?
Yeah.
Which the
27th through the
First.
1st, I'll be gone that whole week.
I can't do Tuesday evenings.
Let's bring it to, I'm also gone. I can commit to being on Zoom, but we will be internationally traveling for a canoe build. But I can be available. And
Why don't we just do Monday the 4th?
is that too long?
That's a whole month.
Is that a month?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. 3 weeks. I think that's
That's
the
about.
best we can do.
We wanna,
Yeah, I think that's good. I think we'll have, I mean, at least from my perspective, we'll have a couple things under our belt at that point. The
Yeah.
listening
Well, the
session.
parent-
Let's try to have as much written down as we can by that 2 week mark. So we really have that whole week to kind of digest it, and come with some really hopeful concrete, like,
Opinions or
yeah, yeah, more that business aspect you were talking about, or maybe some of the finer talking points.
Do we want to have a survey out? Or I think that's kind of our most crunching thing at this point. in my-
Yeah, I had,
a look at the survey at that.
I had survey, and starting the elders volunteer program, something kind of a little more concrete with that, and then that contact form for them, as things to be done.
Is there any part of the volunteer component for our elders that we want to try to get in by the deadline tomorrow for the Gazette?
No, I don't think we're ready.
No, I would
don't think
agree.
we're ready.
I would agree, but I
the
think in 2
deadline's
weeks,
the 21st.
yeah,
Then I kind of think we could be, which it doesn't have to have all the details, but it could be like a 3 to 5 sentence summary.
I think I'd like to get the parent survey out before.
Yeah.
But I think the survey to the parents is something, Keisha, I'd be happy to do with you. We can try and get that out in like a week if you are able.
The reason I'm bringing that up is, in the last 2 days have already had like what would be considered the retired, like elder volunteer showing up, and it's bringing wellness to them. And then in the work that I'm doing. So putting that call out, which maybe doesn't have specifics, might be something that is worth putting on print that goes to like.
And my experience with,
Doing a survey.
I think, yeah, letting people know that this will be happening.
Yeah.
But I know that just in setting up and establishing a childcare space and the people that are qualified and doing all that is going to be is going to be a real intense focus.
I mean, we're talking more about that like in-home care, that like.
Or it actually, what I'm thinking is just the volunteer spiderweb network of like, it's corny and sounds cheesy, but like book lovers wanted, this is like a thing that I brought to the Madeline Community Garden is book lovers wanted vacant seats at the garden. like come and be. So the idea is more related to, and I'll put that into applicable here is like, and you don't want to say like, are you retired or do you have a lot of time on your hands? Like there's a narrative, but it's like, basically like coming soon, which I still don't like, this isn't well thought out of, which is like, there's going to be opportunities to care for community and we kind of want to get your brain ticking on it. It's like a teaser. And it might not land well. It might sound horrible, but it's not about all the information or
Right.
to confuse people or to give more than ought to be. But it might be something to think about.
Yeah, I think in time, it'll be really good and people will get excited, but
Yeah.
we're.
But not yet.
We're
No
not yet.
problem. I call it dumping everything out of the bag and sometimes it doesn't land well.
Yeah,
At least we say it.
it's not quite ready to land.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
What else was I thinking? Are we gonna have in this 3 weeks, are we gonna have any more time to look at, for example, talking to Dave or talking to another group about using that space if that was gonna be a possibility, or talking to the town about what would it take to build, what would be the capacity for us to build another building on that land on Middle Road, would that even be something that they would consider?
Yeah, that's what I was referencing, if we're still gonna go and investigate like modular and
Mhm.
what that would look like in the granting.
Mhm.
So we're still
Mhm.
gonna, that's on the to-do.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would be a part of the long vision if that's appropriate to
Absolutely.
get to know one another. And Lauren, if it's helpful for someone like myself to support you in what you're leading, let me know. But it sounds like you have that rapport. And it's basically just stating, we don't know where we're gonna end up, but we're not gonna like just be too
Yeah,
zoned in.
yeah,
And
yeah.
because I think coming in too hard into a meeting space, what I was saying with the bullet points is like the foundational pieces of licensure. And I know and understand that that's what this is gonna keep
Mhm,
formulating,
mhm.
is that like the beauty of something so big is that it might not be totally under our nose yet. And I like that.
Right.
And I think we all sort of have
Yeah.
that understanding. So I'm happy to kind of redirect myself in that space, help with survey, more like getting it started. And I think there's a lot of insight that I'd like to poke your brain
Yeah,
out.
for sure.
Yeah.
I can help you through it
Maybe
too. Yeah.
Reviewing the questions, just
Yeah.
kind of getting engaged.
Yeah, maybe helping get it set up and then kind of passing it along. So however I can help.
And where I'm gonna be is in setting up, making the space, finding out how and where to make the best space and educating people and finding out if we are gonna go with licensing, then that's a channel that I have a lot of knowledge in because I've worked in that. So I think, that'll be a place where I can offer some more.
Debbie, do you
but,
wanna,
expert.
I'm just wondering, it might be helpful for us to reach out to some of these programs that have already like gone through this, like the Washington Island Childcare. Like, would you want to reach out to a contact there and see how they sort of arrived at getting their licensure?
Oh, sure. Yep. I'd be happy to do that.
So I think, does everyone feel comfortable with kind of their to-dos for kind of going into this? I'll make sure to update kind of the agenda as we go. So you'll see kind of the to-dos as they
Mhm.
happen.
I think to speak up on that, I thrive best in relationship building. And I'm happy through experience with survey. It really feels like something that I can support in. But I would do best on team, not even leading it, but being of support if there's like a list of reach out, which then says I'm happy to be one of 7 that like has a list of 3. And the goal is to build a relationship. So let's speak up on that.
Okay. If you just want to get me started on a survey too, and then we can work together on it.
Yeah, and I'm happy to see it come to fruition, but like my strength is supporting.
Yeah.
Like that larger strategy. Yep.
Well,
And experience.
right now, you guys, I can't do a whole lot in person, obviously, but I can come up with a list of buildings. I also would be willing to reach out and Sam, I can't remember if you said you did this, reached out to the music camp, or was that you, Lauren? Somebody.
Just that I knew that they were doing programming because they reached out to
Right.
me last night.
Well, they are not, nobody's in that space the rest of the year either,
Yeah.
you know, so.
And also it's not being managed by McPhail anymore after this
Right.
summer. It's
Right.
back in a committee, like an island located committee.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I'd be willing to talk to, like, I guess Linda Mack maybe, because she's been on that board, just to kind of pick their brains and see.
I'm curious what like where they're gonna
Me too.
go, like what is the structure gonna change or
Yeah.
like yeah, that'd be great, Julie, because
So,
I'm
I can
very
do that.
curious about what's gonna happen there.
I
Can
could
I
do
speak
that.
up on that? Could be a, ability with the loss of that major funding and then the changing of structure, that maybe it gets built in that like music is essentially a very different but piece to something greater than, so it looks like an opportunity to maybe,
Mhm.
and I'm not that person, but that's me.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm just like very curious what their plan is,
Yeah,
like
me
handing it
too.
back over to a local board. Like, are they gonna keep maintaining the camp or
Yeah.
I don't, that's my main question because they harbor a lot of facilities, you
Yes, they
know?
do. And that's
Without
why
that
I would be happy to,
conversation,
I'd be happy to be that person because I know a lot of those people
That's awesome.
and I think we won't know anything until I actually talk to them and because
Right.
it's been kind of up in the air, I think.
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
So I have our next meeting set for May 4th at 5 o'clock. If there is nothing else, I will encourage a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I was
All in
like,
favor?
oh.
Hi.
Aye.
No,
Hi.
let's just stay here.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah.
thank you.